I was with a group of women and children when 2 Cardassian soldiers burst in. One of the women threw me a phaser, and I fired. The phaser was set at maximum. The man just incinerated there before my eyes. I'd never killed anything before. When I was a kid, I'd worry about swatting a mosquito. It's not you I hate, Cardassian. I hate what I became because of you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds, and Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we'll be discussing the Season 4 episode, The Wounded. Original air date, January 26th, 1991. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so the Enterprise is on a mapping survey near the Cardassian sector. It took everything in me to not constantly write the Kardashian. Like,
Hey, I'm
like,
sorry, but the Cardassians predate the Kardashians.
I mean, the show, yeah, but not the human beings.
Yeah.
Prove it. Prove
I mean,
they existed.
pretty sure. Well, the
exactly,
dad
you can't.
was like.
You can't prove they existed.
O.J. Simpson's lawyer. I know that was the 90s, but he was like an adult, so
That's
he was
not
an adult
true.
in the early 90s.
That doesn't mean shit. He could have been a clone.
Jeff, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah. The dad Kardashian is a clone. Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
So, I did not write the Kardashians, but I had it in my head. Actually, it's how I remembered they were the Cardassians, whatever. Okay, so their mapping survey near the Cardassian sector. It's been nearly a year since a peace treaty ended a long conflict between the Federation and those guys. Last time Picard was there, he was like running away at warp speed. Okay, thanks, Picard. Ahead from a Cardassian warship. Great. Oh, okay. So then, like, we're fucking O'Brien. Okay, listen. I decided I was so done with him that I just stopped writing his name in my notes. I just would write OB because I can't be bothered to write O'Brien anymore because I feel justified in my anger with him now.
He has never done anything to you.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do. I know him personally.
Well, I don't want to know him personally.
Well, now you do.
He sucks. Okay, so now, like, we cut to O'Brien's plate, which includes kelp buds, plankton, loaf, and sea berries, which is, Keiko made him that for breakfast, but he is absolutely shook that she did not have muffins, or oatmeal, or corned beef and eggs for breakfast. It's like, neither did I, bitch. Like, what? This is not, like, I hate him. So he's like, yeah, you, since I tried your food, you gotta try my food. And, sorry, his food options are, I'd stick with her food. He's like, yeah, you gotta try, scalloped potatoes, mutton shanks, oxtails, and cabbage. Okay, I have had oxtail. I do like oxtail, but past that, hard pass. Oh, and then O'Brien's like, yeah, my mom cooked. She didn't believe in a replicator. She thought real food was more nutritious. Okay, you don't have to believe in a replicator. It exists. It's not...
I feel like you're just picking at him for no reason.
I am, because I hate him. I hate him.
Why?
Because I hate him. It's good enough.
Well, you're going to hate DS9.
Yes. Probably. So, oh yeah, there's an explosion, and O'Brien goes, something is wrong. It's like, yeah, no shit, there's an explosion, O'Brien. Oh yeah, so red alert. Our Cardassian ship is firing. Enterprise fires back. Can you tell I didn't read my notes beforehand? So then we meet Gul Masset of the warship Traeger. Is it a warship? I don't remember. It's a ship. It's a Cardassian ship.
I would like to point out that they seem to do a really bad job in this episode of actually making the Cardassians seem like a threat, because it seems like every one of their ships is weak as shit.
Yeah. Also, their like uniforms are questionable. It looked like they were wearing armor with a weird helmet.
Okay, you will never see these uniforms again, because the next time the Cardassians come up, they are completely redesigned for very good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not into this character design, but gasp. A Federation ship destroyed their space station 2 days ago. Oh no, it was a science station. So then, like, Picard requests an hour to figure out what happened. And I was hoping that the episode was going to be, like, a countdown of, like, trying to figure out what happened. Unfortunately, it was not. I really was hoping it was a time-based episode. So it was the Starship Phoenix under the command of Benjamin Maxwell, one of Starfleet's finest captains.
They say that about every fucking captain.
Is he? Yeah, Ben is like not responding to I almost said pages. Picard is like, we gotta find Ben. Yeah, he's just gonna be called Ben. And they're gonna have a delegate come aboard as a show of good faith while they go find the Phoenix. They must preserve the peace. No matter the peace. Christ. English is failing me today. They must preserve the peace no matter the cost. So it's Gul and two others who are both, I just referred to the Glens.
Yeah.
Because one was Glen Darrow and the other one was Glen Tell. So
yeah,
like,
those are their ranks.
Gul and the Glens. Oh,
those are their titles.
It's like, oh, that's so funny. They have the same first name.
Yeah.
Okay, party.
Because Gull is a title. It's like captain, and then Glyn is like a lower rank.
Okay. I didn't know that.
To be fair, they do not make it clear.
Yeah.
They just kind of infer it and expect you to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It doesn't change much for this, but so
yeah, you
okay,
know who's in
O'Brien,
charge.
Yeah, Gull's in charge. So O'Brien, as it turns out, worked with Ben on the Rutledge, where O'Brien was Ben's tactical officer, I believe.
Even though he's not an officer, but, whatever.
Yeah, they haven't established that yet.
Yeah.
So Riker and Troy go meet Gull and the Glens. Still gonna call them the Glens. So
that's what they are.
And then when Riker introduces O'Brien to them, like, O'Brien makes a face, and then Troy, when she's walking out, she looks back at O'Brien and he makes another face, and I was like, what the fuck's happening here? What is this face situation?
Oh, he's pretending nothing's wrong.
Yeah, he's bad at it. So O'Brien tells him that Ben lost his family due to sabotage on Setlik 3. The Cardassians made a sneak raid and on the post and killed 100 civilians. So bummer. Bad. Yeah. Gull thinks that like this might be like active revenge, and then they find the Phoenix, and one of the Glens looked kind of like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I know it wasn't him because that's not his voice, but he kind of looked like him.
Yeah,
but,
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson doesn't show up in Star Trek until like years from now.
He looked like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but in The Scorpion King.
Wait, so he looked like the CGI one?
When he's not the Scorpion part.
Oh, okay.
So I guess in The Scorpion King. the top half, the face of the Scorpion King. The Glens invite O'Brien to join them at 10 Forward, and he's like, I will tell you all the shit you need to know, but I decide how I spend my time, so no way I will not go have a drink with you, you pieces of shit. He doesn't really say that, but he basically does.
Yeah.
Oh, so Gull is like, if you give me like the coordinates of where the Phoenix is, like I can send, we've got like other ships in the area who could get to them first. But they're like, or we could not do that. So O'Brien gives Keiko a potato casserole with capers. This is how I knew that I hated him. I hate capers.
So you hate Irish people, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it comes
I just
down
hate
to.
capers. Like every
Well,
because
I think like
it's not just Irish because they put capers on like lox and bagels, and I was like, excuse me, how dare? How dare?
I don't like capers either, but I think they're like, I don't think they do a great job of it, but I think what they're going for is like look, see how like this weird Japanese food is like gross and weird to him, but this like Irish food is gross and weird to Keiko. So
yeah, I mean, I've never had a potato casserole, so like I can't say much for that.
It's just it looks to be mashed potatoes with just a bunch of shit in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he lost me at capers though.
Yeah.
I just wrote capers. Why are you doing this to me? O'Brien is surprised that people would still not be 100% cool with the Cardassians. Keiko reminds him that like the war lasted for a long time, so things don't just like, oh, it's ended, great, we're all best friends now. I was like, has O'Brien not heard of any of the world wars and various other wars in general?
Well, it's very clear that he's more so trying to convince himself.
Well, he's failing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of the episode.
That's the point. Yeah. That is quite literally his character arc.
Yeah, he literally is like, but the fighting is over now. Why should anyone still feel however they feel? And I was like, I literally just wrote, shut the fuck up, O'Brien.
You are just picking things, because that's the entire point of the episode.
Yeah,
I know, but I don't care for him. I don't like him. This is a anti-O'Brien club.
No, it's not.
No, I'm not joining your club.
I mean me. No,
okay.
I'm me. A party of one.
Well,
no, I'm aware
I don't like
that
your
I'm
club.
Doesn't like it. Well, you don't have to join it.
I won't.
Okay, so then the Phoenix is not responding to the hails. Then there's like 3 other Cardassian ships nearby. Picard orders Worf to give the Cardassians the transfer codes or transporter codes so they can like see it. And then like it looks like Ben is gonna attack one of the supply ships. And then like Data just like monologues it. So it's like, great, holy exposition, Batman. Just like tell us exactly what's happening, but don't show any of it. So yeah, they like
there was a bit of reasoning behind that actually, and I can't say I disagree with it, but they kind of creep closer to what's actually going on further and further, so that you can get a more. They're trying to put you on one side, like within the script, and the way that they're doing that is by distancing you from it. But the whole point of the what do you call it? Of the theme of the episode is that when you're in there in the thick of things, it looks different than when you're looking at it from a distance. And they like approached that with their writing, and I actually thought it was very clever. It was a good way to do it, and personally, I don't need Star Trek to give me CGI shoot fests all the time. It is kind of neat to see things from this more strategic perspective. Because they still managed to make it dramatic, even though you're not seeing it happen.
Well, I did like that they showed the like screen of like when the ships like when they blew up and disappeared.
Yeah,
I thought that was effective.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So yeah, the Phoenix does fire on the warship and the supply ship, and like 650 people basically are killed. So then they're going at warp 4, and it'll take 16 hours and 44 minutes for them to reach them. So Picard's like, warp 9. And I was like, you're not going to give me how long it'll take to get there from warp 9? Could you do this to me,
see,
Picard?
The funny thing about that is that earlier on they had established they were going at warp 6, so I'm not sure why they slowed down.
Who knows? And then O'Brien tells Picard that he's so lucky because he served with the 2 finest captains in Starfleet. And Picard's face is just like, okay, like, keep it in your pants, calm down. And then O'Brien thinks the Cardassians must have done something for Ben to behave like this. And Picard asks like how Ben took the death of his family, and O'Brien's just like, oh, he took it quite well. And I was like, oh no, not sure.
Yeah,
like,
he never missed a day of work. He always had a smile and like, oh, red flag.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like your whole family gets murdered, and you're just like, hey guys, see you tomorrow at 9. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I swear, half these people, just like get them therapy.
Yeah.
Just like everybody go to therapy. Christ. So O'Brien thinks that like they shouldn't be investigating Ben, they should be investigating the Cardassians. But he likes them fine. He really needs everyone to know, but he likes them fine. They're fine. And that people should watch their back around those people.
Yeah.
Thanks, O'Brien. And then Picard tells O'Brien that like Ben killed 600 people, and O'Brien's just like, well, he must have had his reasons. I was like, oh boy. And then, okay, here's what will give O'Brien credit for. When he was in 10 Forward, he does apologize to one of the Glyns for being rude in the turbo lift, which I did appreciate that. And then he tells him his story, and I just wrote, thanks for your Vietnam flashback, O'Brien.
Yeah, I wanted to point out actually that scene is real weird because like the apology part is genuine and I like that stuff, and then he takes a hard right, and I would like, actually argue that scene is more uncomfortable than the one in the turbo lift for both of them, and that's kind of fucked up.
I disagree. Well, yeah. Okay, I agree and disagree. I think it is more uncomfortable, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's on purpose. I
didn't say it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just that it takes a hard right, and it arguably leaves the two of them in a worse position than the turbo lift point did.
Well, okay, so to give some context to listeners, basically O'Brien talks about like they showed up to after the raid when people were attacked at like set like 3, I think.
Yeah. And
it was like a fucking mess, and then he was with like women and children, and then like Cardassians showed up, and 2 of them like were coming at him, and like some lady threw him like a phaser, and it was like set to maximum, and he like ended up killing one of the guys. And he's like he doesn't hate the Cardassians, he hate what he became because of the Cardassians.
Yeah, because he says that, like, that's the first time he'd killed anyone or anything.
Yeah, he wouldn't even kill a fly or whatever. I don't know, he talked about some bug. I don't remember.
Well, he said that, like, he would think twice about swatting a mosquito because he didn't want to, like, hurt living things.
Yeah.
So here's why I don't think it's a worse place, because I think, like, the first interaction where he just, like kind of pops off at him in the turbo lift is more just like anger and putting up a wall, right?
Yeah.
And in this instance, it's like, yeah, maybe they're not going to be friends or whatever, but like they understand each other better. He was like open and fully shared his pain with the guy.
That's fair. I'm more of putting myself in the perspective of that Cardassian, and a guy who popped off on me a little while ago comes back and tells me his war story, and I would just be like, I want you to go away forever now.
Well, because he's confronting you with the atrocities your people committed.
Yeah.
And he's confronting you with the ugliness of war, which is kind of the point.
That's true, yeah. I mean, thematically, I completely agree with it being there.
Yeah, like, I think it was good that he shared that. That it's like, listen, I don't hate you, but, like, I'm fucked up because of this.
I think it's really interesting that this episode does, it gives prejudice to so many of its characters. It gives them to the Cardassians, it gives them to O'Brien, it even gives it to Picard. And they all handle it in very different ways. Yeah. And it's interesting to see that, because prejudice is something in Star Trek that would normally just be like pushed aside altogether, but like even Picard deals with it in a diplomatic and logical way, but it is still, I don't fucking trust you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's sort of, just to kind of look into the future a bit, that does kind of become a big thing of O'Brien's character, is him
Yes.
dealing with his own prejudice against Cardassians.
Oh boy, does it ever.
So that kind of becomes a fixture, and like giving him like pretty reasonable reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
That prejudice, because like
It's his trauma.
Yeah, because in the future that incident, it's known as the massacre of Setlik 3. So that some pretty horrible shit happened that he was witness to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a brutal war. I mean, we never saw it, but that'd be a good series, I think. Anyway. Yeah, we never saw it, but from everything we hear, it was a brutal war, and we get to learn more about the Cardassians, and they essentially are space Nazis.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
especially in DS9.
I think that, oddly enough, is one of the few things that ends up taking away from this episode in the end. That not only was Maxwell like the story is around whether or not he's justified, but the establishment of what the Cardassians are after this kind of makes him justified all the way along, which sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah. Okay, so Worf catches one of the Glins on a computer, and the Glin is told off and sent to his quarters, and like lots of looks are exchanged, and that was like red flag city to me. Gall says that he understands, like, can see that Picard doesn't want war, and they're going to intercept the Phoenix in 22 minutes. God, they like tease me with a countdown, and then nothing happens.
It's the Phoenix countdown.
So then we actually meet Ben Maxwell, and I recognized him, but I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Because I for sure know him, but what was he in? So
Welcome
the
to
actor's name
Shawshank.
is-
Yeah.
I've never seen Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, God.
So his name is Bob Gunto, I think. I IMDb'd him. He was in Daredevil, the TV show, which is where I likely saw him because I liked that show. He was in the movie Argo. He was on the TV show 24. He was on the TV show Desperate Housewives. And he was in CSI. And he was in Demolition Man.
Yes, he
Oh,
was.
yeah, he
He's in
was in
so
it.
many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I
got
love
an
it.
extensive resume. I do love when these people show up that it's like, oh, hey, it's this guy.
Yeah.
Won't be the last.
Yeah. I love that you're like, oh, he was in the Daredevil TV show, and not, oh, his most famous role of the warden from Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I've never seen Shawshank Redemption. Not
Yeah.
that I've ever seen 24, but I don't know. I didn't know like what kind of role he was in Shawshank. Like I saw it on the IMDb, but like I've never seen it, so I didn't know if it was like a big role or not. I only
was, yeah.
figured because for like the TV shows he was like listed multiple times, except he was only in one episode of CSI. But if you were on CSI, like the first like 7 seasons, there's a good chance I'll recognize you. So yeah.
In a couple of episodes, you get Lilith from Frasier making an appearance.
Oh, okay. I've never watched Frasier, but I do know who that is. I do
Okay,
know who
fair.
Lilith is.
Yeah, because Lilith was also on Cheers.
I've
Yes.
never seen Cheers,
Oh.
but I still know who some of the characters are. Okay, so Ben is like very chipper for all the murder he's just done.
Yeah.
And I just wrote, oh, the war criminal thinks O'Brien's real swell.
I legit found that scene super uncomfortable because I know
Yeah.
he's supposed to be like charming-ish, but the fact that you know everything that he's done is like, no, this guy's fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the point, too, that it's like,
It might
dude,
be, yeah.
you just killed like 700 people.
Yeah.
So Ben's like, the Cardassians are arming up, but there's like absolutely no proof. And then he just like starts talking. And I was like, because he's talking about like the bureaucrats and shit. And I just wrote, Ben sounds like a Republican.
In his defense, the bureaucracy of the Federation being a problem is definitely a common theme throughout Star Trek and becomes more of an issue as the show goes on. But we haven't seen that much of it yet, so...
Yeah. So then he has a really interesting exchange with Picard. Honestly, Picard was so chill during this. Like, I would have... Like, all the blood vessels in my eyes would have exploded. I would be fucking dead. So then Ben goes... Ben is having a conversation with Picard. They're in Picard's ready room. And Ben goes, you know what it's like to be under fire? And then Picard goes, you weren't under fire. And then Ben goes, lives were at stake. And then Picard goes, whose lives? And then Ben goes, we had to act now. Picard goes, why?
Yeah, I really like it because Ben is essentially completely reactionary in this. He is reacting based on his feelings about this. Facts before feelings. But like Picard is quite literally just drilling him on his own questions, and it's really good.
Because then Ben, after he goes, I did what had to be done, and then Picard goes, what had to be done? For whom? And then Ben says something that I out loud said, how dare you, multiple times. Ben goes, you're a fool, Picard. So I said, how dare you? And then he said, history will look at you and say, this man was a fool. And then I said, how dare you again? And then Picard says, I'll accept the judgment of history. No, they would not say Picard was a fool. They'll say lots of things, but Picard was not a fool. So, Ben then is like, hey, come join me on this wild rampage I'm on. Picard's like, yeah, I think we should all go to Starbase 211 in Federation space and maybe, like, talk about this shit, because this was bad. So then Picard goes, I will permit you the dignity of retaining your command during the voyage, but the only alternative is to put you in the brig and to tow your ship back to the Starbase in disgrace. So then Picard calls for Worf to pick up Ben, and Picard looks out. Okay, I fucking love this. So Picard's like, Worf, come get this guy. And then Ben's still in the room. And Picard turns his back to him and just stands there looking out the window. And Ben's just sitting there. He's just like, Picard's like on purpose, just like, no, I'm done. I'm just going to turn away from him. I'm not talking to him anymore at this point. It's like, I love that. Oh, so the design for the Phoenix is ugly.
Yes, it is. That is an opinion I've held about that class of starship for a very fucking long time. It has like a... It I don't know what it is, but its deflector dish looks like a really ugly mouth.
It's like a double-decker something, but bad.
Yes.
So then, like, oh, the Phoenix, like, detours. Are we surprised? No! So the Phoenix is heading for another supply ship, and I just wrote this fucking bitch. And then Picard is like, is there anything that... asks O'Brien, like, is there anything that we need to know? And then O'Brien's like, oh yeah, Ben is capable of doing anything when, like, his back is against the wall. It's like, yeah, no shit, he's already killed, like, almost 700 people. And his back wasn't even up against a wall. So, yeah, thanks. And so then Ben then is like, Picard, you have to either, like, you gotta board the supply ship because they have, like, weapons and shit. So then O'Brien wants to go to the Phoenix. There's some technical shit of, like, there's, like, a second or, I don't know, something, whatever, that he's able to, like, get to the Phoenix. And I just wrote, I don't care, Ben can rot. And then they talk about someone named Stompy. Okay, it's not that fun. Just, like, the name is funny. The actual story of Stompy is sad.
Yeah.
He's, like, a young guy who I guess was, like really liked O'Brien, who's, like, his shadow, I guess. And he was, like, killed at the, I guess, set, like, 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he would sing, like, this song. Oh, my God. They sing this song twice. And I'm like, can someone just strike me with lightning? And so O'Brien's on the ship singing with Ben, and I just wrote, can the Enterprise fire on the Phoenix now? So Ben is like, oh, I'm, like, not getting out of this, am I? And then, so he turns himself in, and O'Brien's like, hey, I think everyone should still know that I'm still proud to have served with him. And so one of the things that, like, Ben said to Picard that he thought was, like, weird was, like, one of, like, the station that the Cardassians had that was, like, in a location that was, like, very strategic. It was, like, it was, like, somewhere between, like, 3 Federation stations, something. I don't know. It was number 3 and something.
Yeah, it's a very strategic position with very limited scientific advantages.
Yeah, and then there was, like, the supply ships, like, had, like, a certain level of, like, shields and, like, protection or whatever that was, like, kind of suspect. So that's why Ben didn't have proof of this, but he still, like, decided this was, like, this circumstantial evidence was good enough. which is why he killed everybody. But then Picard's like, he's talking with Gall, and he's like, yeah, so by the way, I do find it a little bit suspect that a research station was in a convenient strategic place with shields and shit, and these like supply ships are like, what are they doing? And Picard's like, I know that if I boarded that ship, the supply ship, it would have been given cause for war. So Picard just wants peace, and he tells Gall to like tell his superiors that they'll be watching. So basically, fucking vindication to Ben, and I did not like that. The end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting what we get out of the Cardassians here, because there's two main Cardassian characters. One of them we see a lot more of, obviously. This man actually comes back in DS9 to play a different Cardassian character, which he does a different performance of. But much like the way that Star Trek usually goes, whenever they have a new species, the entire species is defined by one trait.
Yeah.
And they had two characters to choose from, and they chose the more villainous one. And eventually, he is the embodiment of all of Cardassians.
Yeah.
As we will see, probably the next time that we see Cardassians, I think.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about this ending, though, that like he knew that even though he didn't have proof, he was still possibly technically right?
So I totally agree that like it does feel like a little bit of a cop-out, or like it is weird that he's proven right. However, the way I sort of see it is, I think what they were going for is like how war ruins a person, and that how much they're willing to sacrifice for peace, because it's like, yeah, he was right and now his life is ruined, but they, even though they know the Cardassians are up to something, they're not willing to risk war for it. It's an interesting ending, I think.
Well, like with Picard, yeah, like I don't disagree on that bit, but the fact that like Ben was like all of his, like he killed a bunch of people, but he still gets to be like, well, he was technically right in the end, and like.
But the point is that he made the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hate that he's then like still proven right.
I think that this episode is meant to be deeply uncomfortable when it comes to our value system, because it is challenging something that we fundamentally, Star Trek thinks or teaches us that this is shit that we could just overcome. And then it's an episode showing us that we can't, really. It's something that is unfortunately part of human nature, that we get uncomfortably close to things and we make judgment calls based on our personal experiences with them. And those judgment calls, depending on how emotionally invested we are in them, can be wrong. And they can lead to some really shitty things. And they can lead to passionate decisions that are not necessarily correct decisions. But that doesn't mean that our intuition is wrong on it. And that's what the episode is trying to do by the end of it, for sure. But I do agree that vindicating Maxwell himself, given what they've done, is not the best thing. I think it makes absolute sense thematically, and I think that it does close out the episode well. But it does annoy me.
Yeah.
Because Maxwell is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they didn't do a good job of being like,
If they
Yeah,
leave
you-
like clues or something.
Yeah,
Or if,
like-
if there was more evidence and they led to that him being right, like, I wouldn't be so opposed. But the fact that like basically there's nothing other than like one of the Glynns goes to the computer. But honestly, when I was watching, did not occur to me that that would be like sketchy. I mean, the sketchiest part was when they were looking at each other, giving each other 50,000 looks before like he was sent to his quarters. But
They are deliberately within the episode showing that Picard, within his prejudice of this, is handling it from a completely logical point of view. Like his perspective and the way that he carries out his actions is almost clinical. So it's kind of meant to, like if we're looking at Picard in a vacuum rather than his character throughout the rest of the series. Because, I mean, you would catch this as a random episode in the week. Most people wouldn't be seeing the show for the first time, but some people would. And within the episode, the way that he behaves within the episode, it makes sense that him being the one to make the conclusion is the reason that the audience should trust it.
Yeah. I think what's happening is that Picard is sort of deliberately not poking into things, not looking into it deeper, because he has his suspicions as well. But he knows, like, he's going by Starfleet command being like, maintain the peace no matter the cost, which means, like, not looking too deeply into what the Cardassians are doing. Because if he confirmed it himself, then he'd have no option but to relay this, and he couldn't keep it to himself. So he's just kind of avoiding it by not confirming it.
Yeah, well, no, I liked Picard's, like, reactions to this. Like, I agree with it. I think he, like, was good. I think he made, like, the right choices.
Yeah.
I just wish there would have been, like, I don't know, more hints or something, because then I truly was like, up until the end, up until Picard's like, yeah, this is sketchy. It never occurred to me that, like, Ben would be right, because he just seemed kind of unhinged.
I think it's not supposed to occur to you.
Yeah, but then when it turns out he's right, that just made me angry because of how shitty he is.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at earlier, is that I don't think they did a good job of being like... Because what I get from it, or what I at least think they were going for, is like, yeah, you were right, but that doesn't make what you did right. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think they could have done a better job with that. Being like, look, yeah, you were right about what's happening, but, like, what you did is, like, it's not a justification for what you did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is worth pointing out that... like, they didn't know this when they were writing it, but this episode aired in the midst of the Gulf War. Quite a dichotomy there.
To be honest, I do like this episode. I think it gives an interesting insight into O'Brien's character. Like, I think this is the first episode where he, like, gets to be a full character on the show.
It is.
Yeah.
It's one of the few, because he doesn't... He doesn't get many. I think it might only be this one and one other, but yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I never need to watch this episode again.
Okay.
I really... It's baffling to me, your hatred of this man. It's genuinely baffling.
I cannot imagine how somebody could be so dedicated to being objectively wrong this much. It is just...
Who, O'Brien?
It's impressive. No, you.
Because it's one thing, because I could understand being like, whatever, I don't care about him, but to, like, or be like, I don't really like him, but you're, like, vehemently like, no, I hate this man.
This is also,
nothing,
this is no offense to the actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. I just don't like the character. Here's the thing. He hasn't proven to me reasons why I should like him. I did give him the credit. I like that he apologized. Mm-hmm. So I'm not like ignoring the nice stuff he has done.
Yeah.
Because, like,
you
that's
just
the thing.
want
It's like, I don't
you
like
just
him,
want the
but...
Enterprise to torpedo him as soon as he beams away.
Yeah, why not?
But it's like it's more so that you, like, hated him off the bat when he did nothing.
Hey, listen, some people, like, rub you the wrong way. I think it's just like they spend so much time trying to make him a thing, and I'm like, he's just not interesting. I would rather spend the time with, like, the main bridge crew. Like, I would happily, like, give me fucking more Geordi. Give me Geordi, for fuck's sake. Don't give me more
you'll get
O'Brien.
another Geordi episode this season.
Good. I want 50 billion Geordi episodes. I want 50 billion Worf. Like, give me truly, and give me an episode for Troy where she's not suffering. Like, just
there's never an episode
like,
where Troy isn't suffering.
She needs a nice episode.
No, they're good ones.
Like,
but I'm just saying that they're not episodes where she isn't suffering.
I just think there are people who are much more interesting. I just don't find him interesting. There's like nothing about him that's like, oh, I need to know more about him.
But this isn't a reaction to somebody who doesn't find him interesting. There is vehement
I find him
hatred.
boring. Yeah, because I'd rather spend my time with one of the bridge crew.
I don't
People
want to
that I
torpedo
actually
people
like.
I find boring.
So, okay,
Well, I don't find him interesting. I don't find
Dory.
him interesting.
You don't hate O'Brien. You hate who you became because of O'Brien. You hate the show for making you care
Perfect.
about him.
Perfect.
No. Touche. That's very good. Yeah, unless they can prove to me he's worth my like time and interest, I'm gonna keep bullying him from afar.
Okay, Dory, I'll tell you what. I will give you one thing to look forward to should we ever get to DS9.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say, because I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, good. Do you want to say it or should I?
Because, like, I don't think
I'll
he's
say it.
unredeemable to me. I think everybody, unless he's, like, a fucking Nazi, then,
No.
but, like, otherwise, like, I think that he could grow on me. Just from what I have seen right now, I don't care about him. So, there is a chance, you know, he does something that does interest me. Does he get a dog in DS9?
Well, so, in
has a kid.
DS9, there becomes a trope of episodes known as Make O'Brien Suffer episodes.
Ooh, somebody knew I was coming from the future.
So he's almost like Deanna Troy. Like all his episodes are just full of trauma.
And oh god, is it bad. Holy
Oh, boy.
shit, does it get intense. Like,
Hey, listen, something to look
the
forward
worst,
to.
No, take the worst Troy trauma and multiply
No.
it. His
I don't
want
wanna
to
think about
really bad. Like,
Oh.
he witnesses existential pain that a human being should never experience in any way.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I wouldn't say it's... Well... Yeah, it's pretty
Season
bad.
2, episode 1. I don't know. Stuff
I wasn't
that-
even
I
talking
don't wanna
about
compare.
Maggie. I wasn't even talking about Hard Time. I was talking about when he like the fucking weird time travel one.
Oh, yeah. No, I know. No, what I mean is that because there's, like, rapey stuff with Deanna Troy.
That's fair.
Or there's,
Yeah.
there's, like...
I'm not sure his existential shit can compare.
Yeah. It's pretty comparable. Like, he's pretty fucked up by it. It's just
Oh, yes.
different.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. Oh, okay. So kind of unrelated to this episode, but still in the Star Trek universe. So we've been watching Strange New Worlds. And the episode that we were watching, I think we watched 2 last night or something. At some oh, yes. Okay. So like they mention, I think it was the 2nd episode. So it was like the 9th episode of the season. And he was like, oh, there was this guy that they were trying to like, somebody was trying, no, that was 2 episodes ago. Anyways, they were trying to get this, like, the villain was trying to get, okay, but the villain of this episode was incredible. And I hate to be team villain, but I was team villain in that episode. Was trying to get, like, a prisoner out of, like, a rehab thing. And they were like, they mentioned Sarek, and I was like, oh, I know him. That's Spock's dad.
Nice. Yeah,
was like-
Sarek is
It's like
in,
Captain America. I know that one.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, look
I
at me, I
understood
know
that
a
reference.
reference. Yeah.
Sarek is in what do you call it? He's part of Discovery several times because the main character of Discovery is another secret sibling of Spock because they keep doing that. They don't keep doing it. They've done it like 2 or 3 times, but anyway, so yeah, Sarek is there because he's like her adopted father, and so they have him playing a part several times throughout the first 2 seasons.
Is there any, like, background shit for this episode?
Not really, no. There's very little aside from the fact that Michael Piller is the one who suggested doing the song thing at towards the end, in order to kind of wrap up that part of the story. And I honestly think that was a good idea because I personally thought the dialogue in that scene was kind of rushed and melodramatic, and it did not do a very good. Like, I know they didn't do a good job of establishing like a long history between the two of them anyway, because the two of them don't get any screen time with each other really aside from here. So I realized they had to condense everything into something that is a little melodramatic, but the song, I think, circumvents that a good deal and makes you forget about how the dialogue felt kind of forced a moment ago.
Yeah. I personally liked the song thing.
Yeah.
I know that it can, like, come off cringe a bit, but...
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is cringe.
Yeah.
I did not care for it.
But yeah, so Michael Piller suggested it, and apparently everyone who shot it, especially, was just, like, super happy with it, and they were quite happy with the reception that it got afterwards, so that was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked that they, I don't think they... I think they do look on this episode with a bit of, like, rose-colored glasses, because it's, like, the first time they're really playing with this idea of, like, the consequences of war, the, like, dealing with what happens, like, dealing with the aftermath of war, and how, people, like, in the Federation can be hurt and not perfect and left with scars from that.
Yeah,
It's
taking a very mature subject, and it is treating it with maturity.
Yeah, the toll of war is, like, kind of what they're dealing with, and the toll of dealing with something that traumatic. Because, like, up until this point, it's been like, oh, well, humans are, they're over that. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't affect them anymore, which I think we've established I don't really like, and I don't agree with. So I think this episode is kind of, to me, it marks a signal of, like, them actually starting to deal with that more and starting to, allow members of Starfleet to have flaws and to be in the wrong, and, like, allow people to deal with things badly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. I quite like that. That's a good summation there. I think what it comes down to is that this episode is really the first episode that does a very good job dealing with Federation politics. Even though it's not directly dealing with, like, Starfleet politics or any of that shit, but it is dealing with, like, a galactic politics and whatnot, and I think that DS9 ends up taking a lot from episodes like this.
Yeah, definitely. Because DS9 is all about sort of the darker, less perfect aspects of the Star Trek universe. And we...
Frontier medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, we deal a lot... In DS9, we deal a lot with imperfect circumstances, with imperfect people. Which is life.
How dare you call anyone on Star Trek imperfect?
Yeah. Which is also why a lot of people don't consider DS9 to be Star Trek. Because it's not an idealized version of the future.
That's right, it's a prequel to Babylon 5.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Shapeshifters, religion. What do you want?
Yeah. All right, so with that, let's get to favorite moments and lines and things of that nature.
I liked... I guess I liked the part where, like, Picard and Ben are in Picard's ready room, and Ben's just like... Let me go to the page. Ben's like, oh... You know what it's like to be under fire? And Picard's like, you weren't under fire. And then Ben's like, lives were at stake. And then Picard goes, whose lives? And Ben's like, we had to act now. And Picard just goes, why? Like, I liked that Picard's just, like, shutting him down over and over again.
Challenging him at every step.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah. I honestly thought okay, this is weird, but I thought the food thing, in my memory, that was, like, there was way more back and forth with that, like, of Keiko trying his stuff and him trying her stuff.
No, it's just a little moment.
Yeah, it's just a little moment. Also, I wanted to mention that, like, isn't this something that would have come up before they got married?
That's what I was thinking also. Like, why is this
Yeah,
the
you'd
first
think.
time they're trying each other's, like, cultural foods or whatever? Like,
Oh, because they went out for dinner to 10 Forward.
every single night they've
Yeah.
known each other.
Yeah, why not?
I guess this is like, okay, this is the 90s, so they probably assumed they didn't move in together till after they were married.
Oh, yeah.
But at
But
the
they
same...
wouldn't have gone on dates or something.
Yeah, that's
on
what
the
I'm thinking.
Ship.
Yeah. It's still weird.
No, they
to
went
me.
to the holodeck.
Yeah. Either way, okay, my favorite stuff is, like, I do, much to Dory's chagrin, I like what this episode does for Chief O'Brien. I like that we get a character from him.
Finally. Yep.
I really liked the exchange in 10 Forward, like, when he explains, like, his trauma and his story and stuff. I thought that was a really good moment. I thought the whole thing, like, how you can tell that he has just barely restrained anger going for him. And it was a little confusing, but I get what they were going for when he was, like, when he was talking to Keiko about, like, oh, I don't understand why people are still mad at them. Basically kind of, like, trying to talk himself out of being mad. And, like,
Yeah, I like that too.
Being the typical, like, toxic man thing where it's, like, you really aren't in tune with your own emotions. Like,
Which is definitely a common thing with him.
Yes. Which is, like, that annoys a shit out of me, but as a character aspect, I really appreciated. I just thought it was, like, especially since on Star Trek to this point, it seems everyone's pretty in touch with their emotions, so
Yep.
it's interesting and novel to see someone who isn't, and that's an interesting thing to see someone deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I kind of like this episode overall, but I don't really have a lot that's, like, favorite stuff.
I do, actually. Well, no, not a lot, but there is a favorite moment that I have, which is actually very early in the episode. And I made note of it because I was like, oh, man, that's a good line. And then it came back to me every time that I looked down at my notes again. And as I got to the end of the episode, I realized that it really does come full circle with that. And that is a line that Worf has, which is that trust is earned, not given away.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And that is such a great foreshadowing quote in the beginning of the episode.
I totally
And
forgot
Worf
about
doesn't
that.
get a lot of... Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of moments in this episode, but that one, I think, is a good little... backwards exclamation point, because now we're speaking Spanish, for what the episode is. And I really enjoyed that, especially the fact that I kept reminding myself that the quote happened and just kept thinking, oh, hey, there it is, that's the theme.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like, Worf is usually, like, pretty intense, and sometimes his
Yes.
stuff is a little bit, like, you're a little too black and white on this, Worf. But this is one of those occasions where I'm like, Worf is 1,000% correct.
Yes.
Where I'm like, yeah, trust is earned, not given.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Worf
the
coming
other...
through again.
The thing that I thought I was going to like more was Gul Macet. Because obviously he is a Cardassian played by Marco Lamo, and he does an excellent job of playing a Cardassian when we see him later. But this guy isn't enough of a megalomaniac for me to love him.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they didn't really give him a lot to work with.
No, they didn't.
With this character, and, like, Gul Dukat, who's, like, there's so much there.
Yes. His shit-eating grin
Yeah.
that you love to hate. God damn. But yeah, this is definitely a proto Dukat, because this is not the first time that we've seen Mark Lamo in the show. He's already played a Romulan as well.
Yeah, he also played that weird goat guy.
That's
really
right.
Early on.
That's right. The Antikin.
Oh.
I don't think we see him again in TNG, but I
Yeah.
could be wrong. But either way, regardless, his character does end up defining what the Cardassians are, as well as with David Warner later on.
Mm-hmm.
But goddamn, it's I really wanted to like him more in this episode, but
Yeah.
there's just there isn't much there.
Is he Garrick or Damar? I forget.
No, neither. David Warner is
Oh, he's like a writer or something, I guess.
No. He's in what's it called? Chain of Command.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yes. He also played the Master Control Program in Tron.
All right. I guess we're done with favorites now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next episode is a fun one.
Ooh.
It's called The Devil's Due. And in this episode, Picard has to go to court to keep a devil woman from stealing the Enterprise. They basically have a court trial to see if she owns the Enterprise.
That's so funny. Oh, is the lady back again who was like the judge lady in the Measure of a Man episode? No. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing this as like traffic court. So so maybe the Enterprise like inadvertently like this person is flying and their like ship maybe gets like
They get into a space accident with the Enterprise.
Yes. And because the Enterprise basically destroys like the devil lady's ship, she thinks that she's owed compensation, and by compensation she makes the Enterprise. And Picard has to be like, no, that's not how that works. Or alternatively, like maybe the Enterprise needs like a piece, and or like, but it's used as maybe like an invention that like hasn't been like out there or something. Maybe like they need an emergency piece and she like supplies the piece, but like in the I'm trying to think like devil ship and like in the contract she's like, yeah, if you take my piece the ship is mine.
All right.
Yeah, so it's either traffic court or let's call it copyright issues.
Cool.
All right. Well,
Property rights. No, I don't know. That's not the right word. Anyways.
all right. Well, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.